Oh God. My input gain was a little too high. I clipped the meter somewhere in there, but holy shit. That's pretty fun. What's up, everyone? Hey, Infected. Hey, Kaio. So as you can see, got a new toy, and it's delightful. Just like magical synthesizer here, and very, very impressed with the way it sounds. And I don't even really know what I'm going to do with it today, but I'm open to suggestions. What we're listening to is a Deckard's Dream. I'm controlling it with the keybed from the Mellotron because the Mellotron has polyphonic aftertouch. So like thumb, pinky, independent from each other. And yeah, just using it for MIDI. I could, if I wanted to, blend in the Mellotron, which sounds really cool. But in the interest of calling this Deckard's Stream, we're going to use just the Deckard's Dream today. And yeah, the choir is so good on that thing, but I'm going to resist it as long as I can. Maybe I'll succumb to the temptation by the end of an hour and a half, but the focus needs to be on the Deckard's Dream, and maybe we can try to make a choir on that, but it's not good at choir sounds. It's good at sounding like a just mega power synth kind of a thing. Hey John, hey Colin. Yeah, old school synth pop, like the VHS sound. So good at that. Like just like the pitch wavering around, making it sound so fat. It's delightful. So I guess the question becomes, what should I make with it? What are we going to do today? Right now I'm running it through the Strymon Volante on my desk and the Maris Mercury 7. So the Volante is providing delay. It's pretty quiet. You can hear it. It's like a ping pong delay. And then without that, that's just the the reverb, and then without the reverb, just the dry synth. Oh, remake the THX intro. Actually, there's a feature on it that I haven't demoed yet. Where all of the notes will just swarm together. Let me just see if I can get that going. I haven't learned the front panel very well yet, but. Let's see. Yeah, so it's got like a gliss portamento kind of a function that takes all the chords you play, like all the notes of the chords, and sweeps together from like the outside of the range into them. And you can set the time to being like way too long, which is what I just did, where it's just like, hey, here's a chord in a minute here, as soon as the synth gets around to making the chord form. And yeah, that hamster wheel pitch, totally. And that's I was doing that with a combination of LFO and some other stuff. So the LFO actually right now is being controlled partially by the aftertouch. So if I play a note, there's definitely some LFO in there, but if I squeeze down, it gets faster and deeper. Make it really deep. Or change the shape. Random LFO. Just sloppy in the best possible way. Delightful. Angelic. Let me see here. John saying, or see how close you can get to sound of old USSR synths and see if you can mimic some Eurovision styles. I don't know those sounds well enough to mimic them by ear. I would need to pull something up as a reference, and I'm not going to do that right now. I don't trust automatic copyright algorithms ever since Metallica got copyright takedown for playing their own music on a stream. I don't trust playing like published music that I didn't, especially if I didn't record it. But sometime maybe I'll try doing that. Send me something off of the stream, and I'll maybe dig it up and see if it sounds like something I want to do. And yeah, let's maybe we can just turn it into a track, or we could explore the synth. I realized after I decided I was going to pull this out, since it just came in the mail this week, and do a stream, the Deckard's stream. That was Chris Kazi's idea, actually. So shout out to him on Discord, I think. Deckard's stream. It's so obvious, but so brave and so ingenious, right? And John's saying, check out Fermata Maestro. I only know the Fermata Polyvox. That's the only Fermata synth I'm familiar with, and that's like very cool synth. I almost bought one, but I realized it doesn't have a pitch wheel or a mod wheel, so it's like not really for what I was going for. I almost bought that as instead of a Mini Moog. It's a much cheaper alternative. I've heard that the keyboard sucks on it, and it doesn't have the pitch of the mod wheel, so it's not good at certain things. But if you're just like sequencing it, it's a badass sounding synth. I also would need to like relabel the whole front panel because I don't speak Russian at all. But yeah, we could just dig through. Maybe we should dig through some presets before I start making a song with this. I haven't even listened to them all. Let's rate the presets. Preset tier list. Deckard's Dream. Okay, preset 1. Okay, preset 1, pretty cool. Preset 2. These are all kind of loud. Preset 2 is like a 10 out of 10. Preset 1 was kind of like a maybe in a specific circumstance. Are we gonna do this? Maybe we should. Do. Okay. I have an idea. Actual tier list. Tier list. Let's go. Preset 1 is worse than 2. Preset 3. Ooh. Ooh. Hello. Worse than 2, better than 1. Preset 4. Is preset 4 better or worse than preset 2? I think it might be better. I don't think we're actually going to do this. Maybe we'll make a song with some of the presets. Oh God, Colin, someone's DMing you about art. In a good or a bad way, like offering like, hey, I'll do it for money, or assuming bad intent and saying, oh, you were trying to steal art, so you should be dead. I could imagine it going either way. I'm going to record something with preset 4. I really like this one a lot. And as you can see here in my session, I've got Deckard. This is the Mellotron, in case I want to bring in that choir. And this is the Volante. That's on Ascend, so I've got the master track bypassed on the first 2 tracks. So all you're hearing is the Volante's output. And if I bypass that. Ooh. Okay, this is like an automatic film score machine. Let's record something with it. Okay, starting point. That's definitely a starting point if I've ever heard one. Let's let that fade out. Cool. Sounds good. Infected is back. Oh, Colin, you were being offered a commission. That's cool. It's like a little bit, I don't know, sliding into the DMs. I had a really good DM today. I had someone comment on an Instagram photo of my synths and saying like, hey, check your DMs in a comment. And I checked my DMs and it was just a message from this guy that was, hi. Just like the Instagram equivalent of, hi. I mean, hi. I mean, check your DMs. Hi. But anyway, he responded again after saying hi to say, hey, I saw your YouTube channel and you don't have enough subscribers or likes or views, so pay me and I'll get you some. And I appreciate the hustle. I appreciate the sentiment, but it was pretty disingenuous. Anyway, I'll DM you after this and send you my rates for making album art. And hey, Infected, Wi-Fi taking a crap. You didn't miss anything except for me playing this. And I think what we'll need to do is to record something over the top of that. Maybe I'll duplicate all three of these tracks. Oh God, that didn't happen the way I expected them to. Let's turn record arm off of these three and call this Deckard 2, Tron 2, Volante 2. And delete these things, and maybe we will play something over the top of them. Different preset. I think I said I liked preset 2. This will be a good lead sound. But I forgot what notes I played, so we'll just experiment. This is really good, by the way. I'm not sponsored by any beverages, but I always say that I want to be. I want to be sponsored by soda companies. This is one of the Trader Joe's sparkling strawberry. It's delicious. If you're a beverage company, sponsor me, please. I would like to get paid for recommending delicious sparklies to people. Okay, let's just try recording over this. I think the first chord I played was like a poly chord, so any note will sound good over it, right? Is that good? That sounded kind of cool. There were a few pieces that weren't ideal, but um, it was still like a good start. Ah, what did I do? I clicked something. Yeah, here we go. Most of that's usable. And John Hartman says, I will pay you $5 to say Polar sucks right now. And whether or not that's true, I agree with the sentiment. So Polar Seltzer sucks. And you know what? So does Dr. Pepper. I said it. What's up? What do we have? Colin says, I would love to get a small batch root beer sponsorship. I don't like root beer that much either. I honestly don't like that many sodas. So I think it would be fun to do a terrible, what do you call it? Like reviews, like Francis reviews sodas. And everything sucks because I don't like that many sodas. I hate everything. So I'll just be like, oh yeah, this is terrible, terrible, horrible, not so good, very bad. And in fact, it says want to take a keyboard on a trip. And yeah, I actually bought like a travel synth one time, and I was excited to take it on trips, and then COVID happened, so I just stole it. And whatever. I'll do it again some other time. I might buy a Switch. I might buy a Switch and get the Korg Gadget. Korg Gadget looks like a really good synthesizer for Nintendo Switch, and I feel like I might enjoy that just because it's on a Switch and you can procrastinate on music by playing whatever video games you want that are on Switch, which is the best console objectively. Anyway, and did I see the pic you posted? Maybe was it like a castle? It looked really cool. I might have seen it. And 8OW, I'm clipping it. Review sodas. John, have you seen the Crash Bandicoot soda? Oh, and you have Core Gadget, and it's good. Oh yes, that's like exciting. I actually I'm excited to try it now. That might be the last piece of knowledge that I needed, is somebody saying that it's good. Somebody who makes music that's good saying that something's good. That's always good enough. Oh yeah, SK1 has a little built-in speaker also, so you could actually take that as a portable synth. And yeah, congrats again on winning that. I'll ship it out on probably Monday. It's looking like is when I'll have time when the post office is open, because there's this weird thing. It's a complaint about capitalism. So here's one of the rants, right? God, like people just expect you to not have a job, huh? It's like, oh yeah, post office is open like 9 to 5 or something on weekdays. Okay, cool. Like I have a job, I'm an adult. Like when am I supposed to go? When I release albums, it's like I bring them to work with me, like 20 packages, and then I'll just like not eat lunch that day and like drive as fast as I can to the post office and ship them off. It's like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like being open, like the audacity to just be like a general service and be open at the same time that everyone's at work or at school. It's so funny. But anyway, I work part-time over the summer, so I don't teach as many music lessons. A lot of my students are like just basically taking lessons to counterbalance their school schedule, and when they're on summer break, their parents take them to go on trips and stuff. So I teach like about half as many lessons over the summer. So I get to go to the post office and release albums. I'll try to release like 2 albums this summer. We'll see what happens. And what do we have here? In chiptune album on Korg gadget. God, that sounds fun. Yeah, please DM it to me. I'd love to hear it. And Colin says, and now a moment for our sponsors, LaCroix, the condom of sodas. Yeah, LaCroix does taste like, it's like if you took this and put a condom on it, right? With very small holes to let some of the flavor through. And Colin's saying it took a month to send a package because you work out of town. Yeah, it's like, what are we supposed to do? Like, just not exist. Anyway, let's listen to what this sounds like so far. I'm gonna play back this song, whatever it is, and I feel like it's like it sounds like the soundtrack of like one of those volcano videos. So if anyone's got public domain volcano footage, send it over. We'll make a volcano video. I don't need to sell my mini mug, right? The mini mug's still cool. This thing sounds great, like. But once I have the mini mug set up on top of it, I can play bass. Have fun. Questionable. The soundtrack to eating Takis by the fishbowl and avoiding sunlight. Welcome. Hey Victor, welcome. And sounds like the shores of Orion or some other space beach. Yeah, it's like definitely one of those patches has the noise channel sweeping in and out, and it reminds me a little bit of waves crashing on a beach, but you know, like the rest of it makes it sound like you're in space. And Kaio says awesome LOTR vibes. I assume Lord of the Rings is what you mean by that. I can't think of anything else that means, but yeah. It does kind of have that too. It's like a little bit sci-fi beach and a little bit Lord of the Rings. I agree with both of those statements, even though they're so different. And I mean, like I said, it reminds me of like if you had a narration of David Attenborough talking about volcanoes, this would be the soundtrack to that. And Infected says, I wonder if you could make some I assume that's a type of old tower type stuff with that synth. Maybe. I always forget which one. God. Old Tower and Old Sorcery. I think Old Tower is the one I like. I always get those two artists mixed up, and like I really, really like one of them, and I'm not really a fan of the other one. It's like pretty funny that I can't remember which one's which. I'll figure it out real quick, just because I want to be clear on that, on my personal taste, so you know what kind of albums to buy me when you buy me birthday presents. It is gosh, I'm gonna find out for you. I'm so curious. I definitely like wrote it down for myself because I don't remember like I don't remember things. I Yeah, Old Sorcery is the one that I like a lot. Um, I have an Old Sorcery LP that I really like, but Old Tower I'm like not as into. Interesting. You're saying that they're all good. Um, yeah. Well, yeah. One of them also is I think Old Tower is potentially like sketchy. Is the what I've heard, and Old Sorcery is not. And that also like aligns with my personal taste. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I haven't done a ton of research into that because, like I said, I'm not really a huge fan of the one that's sketchy, right? The one that and like that's it's kind of funny how that happens. Is like if you find out that an artist is sketchy, it's like only a bummer if you like if you're like a fan of the artist's music and you like listen to them a lot, then it's like, oh fuck. But if you don't, then it's like I don't even really check. I don't at that point. I'm just like, okay, well, I wasn't gonna buy their album anyway, so interesting. Um, oh gosh, there's like a private conversation that happened with relating to Old Tower. Okay, yeah. Again, I'm not like out buying Old Tower's music or anything like that, so I'm not too, or even really consuming it. So I'm not too concerned. But if anyone else is curious, that's there's the story right there in the chat. All the drip or whatever you call it, the tea, the tea is spilled. Um, and what do we got here? So much stuff in the chat. Hi everyone, thanks for hanging out. John's saying my dad worked as a trucking teacher and he gets basically unlimited supplies of that Sonic the Hedgehog energy drink. God, yeah, there's like Crash Bandicoot energy drink. I was really surprised when I saw that, and I kind of want to try it, but I also don't really like any energy drinks. Um, and Oh, and John agrees with me on my personal preference between the olds. You know, it's a good band. Um, Old Man Wizard. um, but yeah, so something that I actually want to do with this that I haven't gotten around to yet. I would need to buy a MIDI router, like a hardware MIDI router again, because Deckard's Dream only has one MIDI input, and it's got so many voices. Like I never. How often are you playing? You know, 8 voices of synthesizer all at once, right? Like it's pretty cool, but I'm never playing chords that are that big. And I really like the idea of being able to sequence one of the voices with MIDI. But the thing is, it doesn't have a key bed, so I'm using the MIDI input to control the key bed. And I guess I could send a MIDI sequence into the Mellotron and then go MIDI through to it, and that sounds horrible, but it might work. I think I'm better off just getting like a MIDI routing system, and then I could have like a sequence running and do cool stuff with the sequencer and play along with the sequencer. And I was thinking also I've got those big bass pedals, and I could play bass with my feet, sequence it, and play along with it with chords and melodies, and essentially have like a really simple live setup, I guess, where it's just this with like a reverb pedal and a sequencer sitting on top, bass pedals, and then I've got the Deckard's Dream, the Mellotron. I guess that's off right now. And sequencing, playing bass notes on my feet, like it's just amazing setup. And the thing that I'd be worried about is like, will that make me feel like I don't need the Mini Moog anymore? I guess it would. If I ever feel like I don't need the Mini Moog anymore, like they're worth a lot of money, so I would not be bummed if I like had thousands of dollars because I don't want it anymore. But I think that the Mini Moog is still good enough to have, and it's different enough of a synth. I am tempted to sell it and get a grandmother all the time though, because Moog grandmother is like, I would say it's as good of a synth as the Mini Moog Model D, and they cost like 1/5 of the price, which is amazing. It's a very different synth, that was the thing. And I tend, when I had a grandmother and a Mini Moog Model D, I used both of them pretty frequently, and would find myself trying to get the grandmother to sound like a second Mini Moog. And I almost never found myself using the Mini Moog to sound like a second grandmother. Which is why I chose to sell the grandmother instead of the Mini Moog, because it was just like, the grandmother doesn't quite do Mini Moog, and the Mini Moog doesn't quite do grandmother. And I was using both of them for Mini Moog type stuff always. John would use 14 voices of synth if it was offered. Yeah, I guess I'm at using 8, 9, and then I guess plus I could also be sending MIDI out into my computer and doing my my like software synth. Not a bad idea. And Colin's been eyeing the Juno DS and string machines lately. Juno DS. Is that like a... What is that one? DS61? Oh yeah, that's actually a really cool one. That's a good workstation synth. That's totally like not my cup of tea. Like that's like an example of something that I would pretty much never want to buy for the type of music I make in my workflow. All the stuff that I'm doing with that type of a thing, I'm just using my my master controller for with software. But if I didn't have my studio and I was trying to do the stuff that I do in my studio live, it's a fucking amazing option. You get there's a lot of keyboard for the money in there. String machines are amazing. Super brittle sound. I've got like the VC340, the Behringer one. That's a phenomenal string machine. I don't like the keyboard on it, but that's Behringer. Is like you pay like a quarter of what the instrument's normally worth in exchange for having like a really terrible keys. And it's like with a string machine, you're just basically holding down a chord, so it doesn't really matter. And calling your shopping on patch options more than the name. That's funny. The thing is, like, I would say that synth has no business being called a Juno, because like they're calling it that because they think people will buy it based on the name, because that's the Juno is a very famous synth, and this is just like the most modern update to the Juno, which is nothing like the original Juno. And I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not, but that one is actually more expensive than it probably needs to be because it's called a Juno, which is, I think, good to know when you're shopping for that kind of stuff. God, can we talk for a second about the inflated prices of classic Junos, Juno 60s? Like, holy shit. Those things they sound phenomenal, but they aren't like good enough to be, I don't know. People say the same thing about Deckard's Dream, actually. It's too expensive for what it is. So, I mean, I shouldn't be talking. But Juno 60s, like, costing almost as much as that. It's like, holy fuck. Like, those are, like, from the 80s. They break all the time. You need to, like, open it up and resolder everything. And they sound amazing, but they're just not, like, at that price point. Like, I would always, like, 100% of the time take something like a UDO Super 6 over it. And that's a little bit more expensive than a classic Juno even, but it's so much better, in my opinion. I think the UDO Super 6 is like, I think it's the best polysynth on the market if it's your only synth. I would have bought it instead of Deckard's Dream if I didn't have a bunch of other keyboards already. I just didn't want another keyboard synth. I don't have the space for it. As you can see, you can't see my Mini Moog anywhere because it's actually leaning against the wall. I ordered another stand, and I really didn't want to do that, but I didn't see another option if I don't get rid of it. So it's just a matter of taking up space. But yeah, UDO Super 6 is like, if you want a mega ultimate super phenomenal all-in-one kind of a polysynth, that's like one of the most magical synthesizers on the market right now. And John says, once you have a controller you love, most synths are essentially modules anyway. Yeah, absolutely. I use my Mini Moog as a module all the time. I do play the keyboard on it quite a bit. Part of the reason I like it is it's got that big keyboard. But I do sequence it all the time, and then it's just a module with a big keyboard that gets in the way. And this thing right here takes MPE or Poly Aftertouch. There's just like so much you can do with it. You almost want to have a bunch of modules, a bunch of stuff hooked up to it. This is like... just being able to do that. Amazing, delightful, angelic. But I am already thinking about getting something like an Expressive E Touche to control this with also. And again, it just immediately begins requiring a ton of detailed MIDI routing. And I don't know how much of that I want to do. Last time I did detailed MIDI routing, I ended up with an album that was okay, that was way more work than it needed to be, and that was just basically troubleshooting. It was just too much shit, too much MIDI routing and shit. And Colin says, definitely find them for 60% retail on eBay. Definitely going that route eventually. And it would be cool to see me do some dungeon noise. I don't understand what dungeon noise is, really. I feel like it's like noise, but with cool dungeony aesthetics on the album cover. Is there any specific feature of dungeon noise that makes it unique? I guess it's like similar to the Dungeon Synth versus Comfy Synth discourse that keeps happening for no good reason, where it's like, yeah, they're similar musically. If you just played them, A-B'd them to me, I would probably be able to guess which ones were Comfy Synth, because it's like more major keys and stuff like that. But aesthetically, they could be pieces of the same album, and it's like the visual aesthetic and the way that it's, I guess, branded as dirty of a word as that sounds like with music, ends up being so important to that distinction. And yeah, that's important. Like, you know, I would usually rather buy an album with a fucking cool sword on the cover than an album with a Thomas Kincaid painting on the cover. As a matter of fact, I'll never buy an album with a Thomas Kincaid painting on the cover, unless it's like the best songs I've ever heard in my life, because I really don't like that style of art. The Comfy Synth albums that I do like are the ones with like a rabbit or something. Like I like small animals. I actually have an album that has a picture of a cute badger on it, and it's not really Dungeon Synth or Comfy Synth. It's more like, it's almost like chiptune-y. But anyway. Might be giving it the wrong label. Dungeon noise seems like less EQ. Skull Bear is what you mean. Send me a link to that. I'll listen to that and see if I think about it. Oh, heavy and more, just like here's the distortion pedal. That's actually a pretty good distinction. Yeah, that I do like doing that kind of stuff. It's one of those things that I feel weird about releasing, because I don't find myself listening to that kind of music. I have fun making it, but I don't ever listen to it as a consumer. So I would need people to tell me to release it. Otherwise, you're never going to hear something like that from me, because I do that when I'm experimenting. If you want to hear me do that, yeah, promise me you'll buy a digital download for $1 and I'll publish it. I make tons of music that I don't share with anybody, because I just don't think I could imagine anyone actually liking it. And as soon as someone hears me doing something and they offer to like buy a copy of it, I'll publish it. And that's how I got into Dungeon Synth. I really like used to make music that was basically just Dungeon Synth. Didn't know about Dungeon Synth, and I never released it because I was like, who the fuck would listen to this? You could just like play an RPG instead, and essentially end up with like listening to the same type of stuff, but be interacting with an activity. And then someone showed me, I feel like it was like one of the heavy hitters, like DREAM or something like that. And I was like, this is fucking great. Wow. Give me more of this. What's it called? And then found the Dungeon Synth groups on Facebook, started like posting music that I had made there instead of just keeping it. I used to just use a loop pedal, and I would make a Dungeon Synth song, loop it in my room, and just go do my laundry, and then delete it. And at some point I just was inspired to start publishing it, and found out people actually listen to this kind of music just like I do. Go figure. Something that you like is liked by other people. We are not unique. Okay, let's make another Deckard's Dream experience here. I'm going to actually duplicate these tracks. And I'll put them here. Let me just go back over to my repromote so you can see what kind of beautiful colors I'm using. I'm going to delete these, and I think I'm going to start a new section over here. Maybe they'll be part of the same piece, maybe they won't. I don't know. I haven't recorded yet with my my homemade patch here. How long was I in the group before we went to Civil War with each other? I don't know, actually. That's a good question. I was deleted from the like Dungeon Synth group without realizing that I was deleted from it. I didn't really know that I was like part of the group that was more associated with Dungeon Synth cult group. And I didn't realize that until I like for a few months I like tried going in the Dungeon Synth group to post something. I was like, that's weird. I thought I was in this private group. So I have no idea when that happened, or even why, actually. It just seemed like stuff happened, and people were just like, people decided that, like, based on who you interact with and like who likes you, you end up in this group with the other one. And yeah, it seemed like it was a horror show. Basically, I just, whenever a group gets dramatic, I just unfollow the group and drop in when I feel like it. And I try to stop myself from interacting with dicey comment threads. Like the Dungeon Synth versus Comfy Synth thing is just like, oh, come on. It's like, it seems so obvious to me that like the Comfy Synth stuff is like intentionally inflammatory. It's like, there's a Comfy Synth group like where you should go for Comfy Synth, and whenever anyone posts about it in the Dungeon Synth group, it's like, here's the Comfy Synth group. Let's not, like, most people just don't know better, and it was basically almost like a marketing tactic to like get people to talk about something. That's how social media works. Is if you can make something that is controversial that doesn't actually hurt anyone, that's how you make something that's going to sell. And people just hate that that's true. They don't want to admit that that's true, but that's literally how you make something that sells, is you make it controversial without actually hurting anybody. And that's exactly what Comfy Synth did. There's nothing explicitly wrong with it, but it's definitely not Dungeon Synth, and it definitely should have, if you're just thinking objectively about the way the music sounds, it definitely seems like it should have the same audience. And the split is who wants the dungeon aesthetics and who wants the other aesthetics, and who's okay with both. And again, it's like, it's just so obviously not the same thing, but like, it's also so obviously just like a marketing tactic to call them the same thing. I don't know. I put Comfy Synth as a tag on Bandcamp albums that are pretty like dark and dungeony, just because I want people, I don't want that to work. I want people that search for Comfy Synth to find Dungeon Synth. And like, the whole reason why it's why people keep doing it is because it's just controversial enough to not actually hurt people and to sell albums, which is depressing when you're working in a genre where nobody makes money. But yeah, Colin, Civil War. Maybe John can fill you in on that in the chat. There were like, there's two big Dungeon Synth groups, and like members of one of them had disagreements with members of another one, and most of us were in both of them, and certain people were deleted from one group or the other one. And I honestly still don't really know exactly what was going on, or what led to that. I think, yeah, it's people wanting to protect their communities by being really like aggressively following rules that shouldn't necessarily matter, like arbitrary rules, which is, I guess, the same thing I'm saying is like, I think the Dungeon Synth, Comfy Synth is a problem relating to music marketing, where it's like people try to make new subgenres to make something seem different, and it's like it shouldn't need to be that way, but people do it because it draws attention to them. Yeah, it's a boring fight to have. Read a whole novel at this point. Yeah, a lot of people just seem to be leaving all the groups, which is, I mean, also fine. I definitely like understand that approach, and I think Facebook groups in general are overall pretty toxic because I think humans have a tendency to read questions as being disingenuous when the question is hiding behind the profile of a person on the internet that they don't know. Like, we sort of are taught that kids learn, kids ask questions, kids grow up and become adults that don't need to ask questions anymore. And at the point when someone becomes an adult, which everyone on Facebook is sort of assumed to be an adult, even though some of them are teenagers, right? People just see someone ask a question and assume bad intent. I talked to you about this a little bit earlier, Colin, but like, just you see a question and you're like, oh, this person sucks. Like, yeah, that's what's going on. This person wants to cheat people or wants to like get ahead at the cost of the expense of others. And like, no, it's like people usually just are asking questions and genuinely want to learn. Like, I think that like, what's the difference between Comfy Synth and Dungeon Synth is a really uncomfortable question for a lot of people because it's hard to answer. And I think it's like one of those things where you're supposed to know it when you see it. But if you're new to the genre and I mean, if you find out about Dungeon Synth through like Tiny Mouse or something like that, like, it's a legitimate question that deserves like to be, you know, appropriately responded to. You know, like, I think that if you show up and you're genuinely asking like, hey, I'm looking for new Dungeon Synth releases. My favorite one right now is Grandma's Cottage. Like, I think that a great way to get that person to never care about Dungeon Synth is to be like, hey, fuck you. That's not Dungeon Synth. It's like, I think you assume good intent. And if the person didn't have good intent and this person is coming in to troll, they're going to look like an idiot if they are treated with respect, because they're expecting the opposite of that. And like I said, most people aren't actually trolling in those situations. They actually genuinely want an answer. And like, if you treat them nicely and they are trolling, they're going to look like a fucking idiot. And like, you win either way by being nice to them. That's my opinion. Yeah, synth stream. I didn't really have a plan for this. This is like the kind of synth that I definitely see myself spending a great deal of time with and making complicated releases with. I got it more for film scoring, but I'm definitely going to make a Dungeon Synth album with it. Because at the end of the day, it's got a great pulse wave, so you can make chiptune-y sounding stuff with it too. If anyone's curious, I will do that next. But first, I will do a quick take of a recording improvising with this patch that I made before I changed the front panel. Let's go. You know what? Let's look up close with my candle. good enough, right? It's kind of cool. Um, okay, let's go back to this mode. I'm gonna save that just in case I like crash my computer. What do we have here? Colin says I have the same feeling about comfy synth discourse as the premise of tomatoes, or how not to define art. Yeah. I think that art being good has always sort of been related to the idea that it's controversial or something like that. And it's like there's nothing that defines art. That's the problem with art, and the problem with music is that there's no actual there's no clear definition of it. And people often confuse the definition of creativity with the definition of artistic. And again, that becomes a really difficult conversation for people when the subject of originality especially comes up, because originality is kind of like romanticized as well, and there's no good answer to any of these questions, and they're good discussion topics when you're talking to your friends, but when you're talking to a group of strangers on the internet, everyone's opinion is right to them, and that doesn't go anywhere. And John says, messing around with the Mellotron V collection in Ableton. Well, this is going a very cool vibe in the kitchen right now. That's that's probably the best. I think it might be the best virtual Mellotron on the market right now. It's really, really good, delightful. And I think Arturia's got a really good CS80 also, which is if you want these types of sounds, that would sound good. And Colin pulled out of the producers forum, ready to let the post die. Are people being mean about that still? I jumped in after we talked about that earlier, and I saw a couple more comments that were just like not even like, hey, like that's shitty to like use other people's art without their permission, but just like genuinely mean. like like someone just like insulted you. I'm like, what the fuck? And I've got a message from John that's held for review. Let me just check it out here, see if I want to allow it. That means I need a mod, right? Maybe John and Colin need to be my mods. I'll allow that comment. I mean, I literally be out here making anti-cult psychedelic music. Controversy is fine and necessary to be original. Be asshole controversial. Yeah, it's like if you're being controversial with the intent of being inflammatory, there's very specific situations where I think that's okay. I actually read a bunch of music very recently that is in that category of what I think is an okay version of controversial, which I think is actually pretty similar to your anti-cult stuff. And I haven't released it yet. I'm wondering if I honestly think people might like my audience might not even notice. Maybe some of the fans will. It's an Old Man Wizard album. It's got some stuff that's I would consider to be very controversial as far as subject matter of lyrics, and it's I think that controversy ends up being okay when it's criticizing someone that's misusing their power. Like essentially, I think it's like maybe disingenuous to criticize certain religious practices if you didn't grow up around them. But if you did and you know stuff that other people don't, like that's a great place. Like what John's saying about cult stuff. Like if you are, dismissing Buddhism as a cult, and you write an album criticizing Buddhism and calling it a cult, it's like, and you didn't grow up, you don't know anyone who's a Buddhist, and you didn't grow up Buddhist and stuff like that. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you're just basically out of your element, I guess. And if you're in your element and that's how you feel about it, then maybe like maybe that's a good subject. I don't know enough to know if that's a good subject. I assume it's probably not, because I've never met a Buddhist that was like a shitty person, honestly. Like maybe I'm wrong about that, but it seems like a generally pretty nice religious practice from my experience, limited experience with it. Whereas something like Mormonism, I've never met a Mormon who isn't either a fervent believer in their religion or essentially a recovering abuse victim. And I didn't grow up Mormon, but people that I know that did, like, have a lot of baggage to unpack. And that seems like an example of a religion that would be pretty easy to genuinely criticize. Yeah, John keeps posting messages that are dicey for YouTube. I think it's the word dick moves that made it not allowed, but I just allowed it. And yeah. Yeah, the genre is totally built on public domain. That's like the quote of the night. Jesus. Anyway, let's make a quick, I've got maybe 20 minutes left on the stream. I'm going to make a quick chip tuney kind of sounding patch. And I feel like that's the last piece that I really want to do with this on stream, just to demonstrate another thing it's capable of. I wish I had an overhead cam that would show this better. But we'll just I'll just play it while I'm sound designing it. I'm also going to turn off the reverb and the echo. Okay. Genre built on public domain paintings and covering up your makeup job with a black and white filter, right? Xerox copies. I actually think that aesthetic is like really like good, considering how played out and overused it is. I still kind of like the whole like washed out black metal photo aesthetic for some reason. Like it doesn't. I feel like maybe eventually it'll start seriously bothering me, but it's been years and I still like I don't feel myself being like, oh, this is gonna suck when I see an album that's like got that black metal aesthetic. I'm like, oh, this is like I still like it for some reason. Okay. So as many of you know, Deckard's Dream and the CS80 that it's inspired by is a 2-layer synth. Layer 1, layer 2, both together. So for a sort of a chip tuney sound, I'm going to go to just 1 layer of the synth. So this is my starting point. I'm turning off the aftertouch and the oh shoot. The aftertouch and the velocity sensitivity. God, Dark Throne's still really good too. I was talking to I think I was talking to Min about this, but God, like those classic Dark Throne albums, like Transylvanian Hunger. I really think I still think Transylvanian Hunger is like the best black metal album. Like, I still haven't heard another album that does what I want black metal to be better than that album. And like, it's so like, what a disappointing choice for like favorite black metal album, right? But I think that's a really good album. That's like one of the few metal albums that I think is a 10 out of 10. And I'm very, very like hesitant to give out that kind of a rating. And I mean, like, my taste is all over the place, right? It's like a terrible point of reference for anyone. Another 10 out of 10 album, I think, is Abigail by King Diamond, is a 10 out of 10 metal record. But like, very few of them. And Core Gadget does Chippy really, really well. Okay. I'm even more excited to try it. So, Chippy, Square Wave. I could adjust. Let me just. This is too filtered, right? Turning off pulse width modulation. Going up to like a really narrow pulse wave. Turning off the release. Already sounding like a Game Boy, right? I can filter out the low end. That's pretty good. And then Mercury 7, turn it back into a CS80. Right now. So at this point, we've got a pretty silly patch. Do some Castlevania. That could actually be pretty cool just using this for something like that. It's fun having like a hardware polysynth. Something like that, right? Something like that could be cool. I actually really like that it can do that. I haven't tried that yet on this synth, and it's pretty versatile. At the end of the day, it's just a synthesizer, right? And a good synthesizer should be able to mimic a lot of different sounds. And here I've got a silly Game Boy kind of a patch, which actually could be cool combined with something a little bit more washed out, right? So now I've got that Game Boy patch mixed with just that washy thing from earlier. And now we've got something that'll sound really good with the reverb. I like that. I'm I'm gonna record a little bit with this. Not sure what I'm going with that. Not feeling as inspired, but still fun. Hey, Leviathan of the Depths. I'm almost done with the stream here. Gonna go for about 10 more minutes, but thanks for showing up, even if you're showing up late to the party. Going for the video gamey sounds at this point. I think it's like a underutilized piece of that of this type of synthesizer. They were like really good at mimicking those old sound chips, because it's like pretty similar to the sound chips that were in those consoles. And when you sequence them, especially, you get like really, really nice effects. This is comfy also, by the way, right? It's dangerous. Maybe if I stick to 3 voices at a time, it'll sound more Game Boy. Too. Oh, I'm excited. What should I make with this? What album should I make with this synth? It's tempting to do one that's like all sequenced and stuff. My voice cut out there for a second. It was my fault. I clicked the turn off voice button. But making something really sequenced with this sounds fun. All the pad stuff sounds great. I'm going to play back the stuff that I've got so far while I'm, I guess, preparing for the stream to end here as it winds down, just to hear what I've got. I've got about 10 minutes of music recorded and about 10 minutes until 2:30. So most of it's not very good, but some of it's cool. So let's just see what it feels like. John said get the noise filter going on there, and you can see if you can go back to Atari grade. Yeah, definitely could. And then Shin Megami Tensei vibes out here. I don't know if I've played these games. Let me just look that up. No, I don't know. I don't know that series at all. That doesn't look familiar. Strongly recommended, or good soundtrack, or bad soundtrack? Let me know. I'll check it out if it seems like it's something I'll like. This first one's my favorite, though. The volcano song. Songs for watching volcanoes erupt, with David Attenborough voiceovers, too. You know, that's like a dream job, scoring something like Planet Earth. That would be a really fun job. Like, right up there with scoring a good video game. Very moody vibes, occult JRPG. When you get your Switch, get knocked here. Now we're just getting the Switch. I need to wait and see what the Switch Pro that's allegedly coming out looks like. See if it seems like it's worth it, or if they lower the price of the other ones as a result of the new one. I'm also tempted to get one of those Switch Lights because they're just cute. So that was Toolers of Deckard's Dream. Let's hear the next one. I don't remember what the second one I recorded was. Oh, I did a lot of like fourths and stuff. Little steel pan sounding plucks too. I should like add visualizers to my stream so I can like do magic stuff with it. I kind of like this idea actually. What if I could use Reaper for that, but I probably need a better video card. Stream crashy. What if my stream crashed when I'm streaming Crash Bandicoot? I should stream Crash Bandicoot with those Crash Bandicoot Wumpa Fruit flavored energy drinks. I really need to do that. How was that second piece there? Where's the next one? I don't remember what this one is at all. Let's hear it. Oh, this is just experimenting with the video gamey sounds. I don't think I could speedrun the Insane Trilogy. Like the physics feel too different. I have to like relearn the game. I could just play it like casually. First idea. Okay, let's hear some real damn music. I'm gonna skip this one. Play this thing. You know what? Crash Bandicoot 1 actually has some stuff that's pretty, like... I want to rescore that with Dungeon Synth, because there's that, like, evil castle at the end. It's, like, a perfect setting, actually. You could make that a really dark game. It's, like, about, like, an evil scientist that lives in a castle that, like, genetically mutates innocent animals to, like, make them do his bidding. Pretty fucking disgusting if you think about it. Yeah, the Castlevania one, copyright struck. Yeah, it's Castlevania. It's Castlevania. It's Vampire Killer, is what it is. It's one of the songs that's in every Castlevania game. I think it's the same composer that did one of the Mega Man games. Castlevania was the one where it's those two women were credited together as like James Banana or something. They had like a pen name for like as a writing duo. I guess there's like a thing where back then like video game companies would make their composers and like team use pen names so that other companies wouldn't like offer them more money to recruit them or something. Really weird shit. Anyway, that's all the time I've got for today. I've got some other stuff to do today. It's getting to 2:30, so thanks so much for coming to the stream, everyone. Appreciate it. And I'll check all those messages. I think John and Colin, you said you sent me some stuff to check out. Oh, right there. That piece also sounds like a famous song. For a second, that sounded like a Uriah Heep song. One of my favorite rock bands, Uriah Heep. Terrible ending. Anyway, that's all we got. That's all she wrote. Oh, didn't mean to do that. See you later. Thanks for coming by. Have a good afternoon. Deckard's stream.